okay, this didn't work. I got to get on to something else. So you have that entrepreneurial spirit and that determination and motivation. That's what started you on this path right now. It's always been work.
Absolutely.
And how did it get to the point where, okay, this is working, and now I got this? What was it? What was it that you and Andrew started?
The big score for me and Andrew, and probably the happiest day of my life, even to this day, I remember it. We were always in sales, and we worked sales jobs. And the first time I ever tasted real money, we used to sell television advertising campaigns. We'd call companies that don't advertise on TV, and we try to sell them a campaign. So my brother didn't like the guys he worked for. Him and another senior salesman started a new company doing exactly the same thing so they could be in control of the company. And I was working for them as a salesman. And me and my brother were the first people in the UK to bring an electronic cigarette onto television advertising. There was a bunch of walls. All these people wanted to advertise on TV. And we had this really good agent who was in charge of a process called Clearcast, which is checking the advertising standards and seeing if a product can be advertised on TV or not. And the company, I'm not going to say the company's name, they've probably gone out of business by now, was the first electronic cigarette company ever to be advertised on TV, because we managed to bend the rules to get the advert through. A couple months later, so me and Andrew made a lot of money. I mean, to us back then, $35,000, $40,000 each on this big deal, this $1 million deal, and we were super happy. And we assumed that we'd made it. We thought, okay, no, we've killed it now, because every month this guy's going to give us this much money. We're on $75,000, $80,000 a month now combined. So it's month one. We've got this money. What do? Let's buy an Aston Martin. Let's buy a car. I'm 22. No. I'm 23 and a half. 23 and a half at this point. So I'm like, I know, let's buy an Aston Martin, because next month we can buy a house, and next month after that, it's all good, don't worry. So we take all of our money and we buy the secondhand supercar. And at 22 years of age, I had so much faith in myself. Obviously, I had faith that this deal was going to work, and I'd now made it, and I was going to be living good forever. But I had faith in myself where I decided, let's take the plunge and spend this all on a car, because don't worry, we're gonna work this out at the end. So we take this car from the Aston Martin dealership in Cambridge. It's secondhand, 5 or 6 years old, but it was a drop-top Aston Martin Vantage that we owned outright. No payments, no finance, no nothing. And I remember driving home with my brother in that car to our crappy rented apartment in a bad neighborhood. And I had the biggest smile on my face, and that may well be the happiest day of my life. And the saddest day of my life was probably 29 days later, when Clearcast, the advertising standards agency, put a blanket ban on all electronic cigarette products on TV. I lost the contract, lost the deal. 3 months later, I remember looking at that car outside, not having money to put gas in it, and just thinking, well, that was stupid. But that was our, and then obviously because we had that car, we did sell it, and we did have that capital. That $60,000, $70,000 was very useful for the kickstart we needed. But that was after years and years of selling TV advertising campaigns for coffee, lip balm, making $3,000 or $4,000 a time. But that was the first time I ever felt like I was rich. And in theory, I was. And it all went wrong 29 days after that. Yeah. We were I think that's the only electronic cigarette brand ever to run an advert on British television. And that was the story of how I bought my first supercar, I guess. But that was the first time I
Did you sell the car afterwards?
We ended up, we kept it for a year and a bit. And we got to a point where we did, in fact, need to sell it. We needed to sell it. And yeah, we did sell it. And but that was a very, very long time ago. But even the arrogance I had to believe this money's coming in is going to last forever, it wasn't so much arrogance in this company or this deal. It was more, I guess, faith in ourselves that we knew one day that taking this plunge wasn't going to hurt us. I don't look back on that day with regret, like, man, I should have invested that money somewhere else. I should have spent it on something else. And I'm in the position that I knew I would be in, looking back on it. And now I've got 5 Aston Martins amongst 60 other cars. Like, it's not a thing to buy one anymore, and the joy is gone.
I was going to say, what does it mean to you now to own those cars?
It's super nice. It's really nice to buy those cars, and I enjoy them, and I love driving, and I'm a big motorsports guy, and I love driving my cars. However, no feeling will ever compare to on that relatively cold spring English day with the roof down with my brother driving that first ever Aston Martin back to our council estate in our bad neighborhood, knowing that we'd probably have to, fight off attackers at some point. That was the best feeling in the world. I think that was the happiest day of my life. And I'm pretty happy. I'm a pretty happy guy. Like, I love life. But that's probably my best ever memory. Yeah. And that's
a
the first
great memory.
Yeah, it's the first
I
time I
get
ever
it.
remember feeling rich. Yeah, it was nice.